hear us on the mics? Okay. This one's, all right. All right, bye. All right, good to go. Because Dave gets the audio from there, and then he gets the feed, goes down there.
I wonder this might do another setting. That's a difference. Wonder you can use this mic instead of the mic in there.
No, because these are wireless and they're hooked up to a,
Just
yeah, they're not cross compatible. Yeah, I discuss.
oh, you buy the feedback destroyer. In the content.
Yeah, yeah.
32 are now Gotcha. 6 o'clock. Sounds good. I'll call you in that room. I'll show you what chair to sit in. You look at the screen. All the men are going to be joining me through our virtual meeting. Oh, gotcha. We're going to ask some questions. Sure. Absolutely. I'm a veteran, so.
On.
What are you having, beer? No, I'm just,
Water.
water. That's why you have water right now, Rosa. You're right.
Oh, it's a hot day, eh?
Yeah, it's 90, 93 right now.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Stefanski.
Howdy.
What
Yeah,
kind of background you got?
He's always at the outdoor pleasure, you know? I mean, he always liked the outdoor pleasure, you know? I gotta learn how to do that, Tracy. I don't know, I mean,
Is he on already?
That doesn't.
to get a different background all the time.
Secret.
The secret, well, I mean, I'm gonna get to that.
Want me to tell him?
Vince, if you're ready, we're all ready to go.
Ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, everybody's on duty now. So the License and Health Committee, I like to, today's Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. So I'd like to have the roll call.
Sure. Alderperson Grisham,
You're muted, Suzette.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
I'm here though.
Reinke,
Here.
Rote,
Here.
Stefanski,
Here.
Vitale,
Here.
5 present.
So now I'd like to have the approval of the minutes of
Move for approval. Reinke.
second. The I have it. There's no no's. So then we move forward to new and previous matters.
Mr. Chair,
So we have, yes.
would you like me to read the items for you?
But either way, I could, either way, if you want me, I'll do it.
I can go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure.
Okay.
Item number 22 is resolution of support of temporary relief from enforcement of certain ordinances affecting local businesses. I believe city attorney is on the call and could provide some additional information.
Go ahead, Nick. Or Gail.
Or Kale.
Yeah, I'd worked on this one actually, so I can field it just temporarily.
Oh, okay.
So basically what happened is staff has approached me with the idea of loosening some of the restrictions imposed. And so, and I'm sorry, this is 22, right?
Yep.
Correct.
22.
Okay, I'm trying to, because on my other agenda, I didn't see that one.
I have 23 only.
Yeah,
It's on the main agenda, which I'm looking at right now, because I had to go there for it.
under license and health?
Yeah, the common council agenda, yes.
Okay.
That's where it is.
It's okay, just want to double check. Want to double check I was talking about the right one. Well, what it really is it's basically a resolution that was put forth to allow the council to weigh in on the concept of relaxing some zoning restrictions on local businesses. It does involve this committee to some extent because some of these businesses are licensed to sell alcohol. And so while that cannot be waived, that's something the council has to actually make decisions on. There are several provisions in this resolution that essentially ask the executive branch to look at specific things that relate to outdoor dining, outdoor sales, and outdoor services, basically allowing businesses to expand their service opportunities with proper social distancing and basically giving them a chance to operate on their own property in a way that otherwise the zoning code would not allow. And so this is an opportunity for the council to weigh in and just in a general matter say it's something that you'd support. Ultimately, the council could repeal laws if it so chose, but zoning laws need some time to be repealed, and there'd be probably a 45 to 60-day delay as a result of it. This is a chance to do it more immediately to allow those who are involved in enforcement of zoning laws to simply create a framework by which they can sort of just not enforce that law. And it's just an opportunity for the council to weigh in on it. Frankly, the executive branch could ignore this and do whatever they want. The council's authority, true authority, is to repeal or change laws, but this is just more of a chance to sort of work together in a very unusual time to do something and see if everyone can get on the same page.
Is there a specific, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Chair. Is there specific examples that we're looking at, Kale?
So the resolution talks about zoning laws specifically. However, in concept and conceptually, at least, the executive branch could refrain from enforcing any law. But this is focusing specifically on outdoor retail, which is prohibited by the zoning code right now, would be a special use or prohibited, but it would allow retail stores to sell things outdoors. It would allow those businesses that provide personal services like barbers, stylists, or anything like that to provide those services outdoors if it's possible under their licensure. It would also allow any other business that can operate outdoors to do so. It's sort of just a way of opening up and letting businesses have an opportunity to evaluate whether they can do this or not, and then allowing them to take advantage of it, which otherwise would violate the zoning code.
So basically, when their hours of operation are, they could put like racks outside or shelves outside just for a temporary basis. Then when they close at the end of the day, they'd have to put them back inside the store type of thing.
They wouldn't have to put them back in the store, but I'm anticipating they would want to.
Well, yeah, I don't think they want stuff stolen. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Kel, I think they thought the proposal brought forward, I believe that's a hell of a good proposal really for business, you know. I mean, I'm like I said, again, I'm so thrilled about it because it's about time that we did already in many angles of the city with business, you know, restaurants. But this one, I think that's a hell of a good idea, you know, to give business some flexibility to, you know, like I said, to take the racks outside. You know, to me, they've done it in many other places. You know, to me, that's a good proposal. I like that. So we should move forward with that. So I don't know.
Mr. Chair, Brian Keith,
Yes, Rosalie.
Basically, is it given that anybody can any of these stores can open, or must they come to us for permission?
As presented, the resolution simply encourages the executive branch to just not enforce certain zoning laws temporarily. So they do not have to come to the council for permission. They could just start doing it as soon as the executive branch comes up with the way to do it. So there would be no prior permission, and the businesses would just have to evaluate their own options. It's just basically a way of relieving them of one particular law that might be an obstruction.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr.
I have one more question. I'm going to gear this towards Suzette. So Suzette, example of this could be if you want to take, as a stylist, you could take a chair outside and cut somebody's hair outside, correct?
You're muted. You're muted there, Suzette.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, according to the zoning, if you would change that, yes, I could do that. However, again, it would be against my licensure to do so. I cannot practice outside of my business. We have strict rules according to that. We can work on people who are infirm, but we can't work out of our homes, things like that. So outside the business, I think I would have to check with the Department of Regulation and Licensing under my licensure to see if that would be acceptable. It's not something that would work for me as a stylist because I wouldn't cut hair outside. If it was an event, yes, but typically working outside wouldn't be beneficial. Lighting, wind, things like that. Plus, I could have a setup to do so. And that actually, if I may ask a question, how is that working with our right-of-way on our sidewalks, such as pedestrian foot traffic, things like that? I could see if it's a spacious business and it has room to set up outside per se, but something like my frontage, I couldn't operate without obstructing the sidewalk, which would be impede foot traffic.
Yes.
Or possibly the other that I would be concerned with if there are ramps and things like that was a danger to foot traffic or pedestrians walking.
I didn't hear the last part of that, but I heard several good points in there. The first one being everyone still is responsible for checking their own licensure and other rules that may apply at the same time. This is just relieving one particular burden that some people might have. And so, yes, I agree that everyone should check their other state regulations, make sure they can comply with that. So it's not going to work for everybody, but it hopefully will work for a number of people, a number of businesses. The second part of your question is also an excellent point in that this does not permit, or at least there is no suggestion this permits people to operate in the right of way. You have to have private property. And so if you have a parking lot next door, or if you just own land next door, or if you are a renter at a particular location, if the owner of that real estate allows you to use some of the exterior of that property, then the business occupant could do so. That's the real benefit to it, is on private property. To occupy the right of way, there's still going to be likely some sort of temporary occupancy permit that you need to obtain from engineering, but that's also something that some people have chosen to do. So it's not like that's an impossible option. It's just that the point you draw is that if it's too narrow of a sidewalk, it might not be possible in certain locations.
Mr. Chairman, Road?
Yes, Alderman Road?
I see the executive branches on Mayor Devine. Do you have any examples that you're thinking about with these almost extension of premises?
I'm sorry, Alderman, what was that? I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, seeing though you're the executive branch and Kale keeps referring to the executive branch, do you have any ideas or what are you angling for here? I know it's to open up the city again and get us all back to business, but do you have any particulars, like this guy brought to me this particular situation? Do you have any, share your thoughts, I guess.
Well, I think the original request on this, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Alderman.
Thank you. The original request came from just various businesses. Gosh, nothing leaps to mind, but I think it also came through staff and community development, and I believe that they were getting inquiries from some businesses to, like our city attorney said, just to go more towards an outdoor, the opportunity to move things outdoors and allow, boy, I'm struggling for words here. You caught me off guard, Alderman Road.
Sorry, that's my job.
That's okay. I had my mouth full of a sandwich too when you first started talking. But I've read of other communities that have really expanded their ability for businesses to do things outdoors, like dining and just allowing more space, and then any lost capacity of seating on the inside could potentially be expanded on the outside. So I don't have specifics. I just have more general concepts in my head.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I know a couple of situations where basement restaurants who wanted to be able to offer outdoor dining. And this was primarily brought to me by the planning department. So I'm guessing that, I don't know if Steve is on the call or not, but planning is the one who received also a significant number of requests for this, and that's what was the driver for this.
Mr.
Any
Chair,
other questions? Maybe you want to have Steve on it, or it's okay, I mean,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I don't see an issue with this as long as we're cognizant of the right of way, on the sidewalks where people are walking on a regular basis. And I would worry with restaurants that don't have that, I don't remember what we call that thing in front of the restaurants on the road that sticks out.
Pedlet?
Yeah, thank you, Pedlet. For places that don't have that, are they going to then, does this give them the opportunity to put one up so that it doesn't impede on the walking area for people walking on the sidewalk?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
At the last council meeting, actually, the council expanded that policy of pedlets to be citywide. So as long as the traffic pattern outside that business can handle a pedlet, then it makes those businesses eligible to apply for one.
That's kind of what I was getting at from the last meeting. I want to make sure that that was covered under that. Okay, thank you.
I do believe that any outdoors retailers or business, they for sure they let the passage, enough for people to walk through, because people, they got to move around if they want to say older person, Ryan, she want to buy a dress, she needs room to move around. So or somebody else wants to go walk through there. So I do believe, normally they leave a passage, for people to go through, Like I said, if it's a narrow space, well, then it's something that maybe we have to kind of look at. But overall, I think it's a good idea, really, for the city to expand, for small businesses to be able to, survive and try to attract more patrons, for their business. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Marty.
Alderman Weigel.
Yes.
I have a question. When would this end? Since all of the quote restrictions and social distancing, putting restrictions in quotes, because those are all just recommendations. All of our businesses are open. They choose to be open and operating at 100% capacity. They're allowed to. Okay. It's really about what businesses choose to do to make their employees and their customers comfortable. We don't have an order saying you can only operate at 50 or 25%. So if we had that order, then I'd say, well, absolutely, we should do this. And then when we lift that order, however we define that order is lifted in the future, and I don't know how this thing's going to end, but I would just ask, if we're going to do this, when would it end?
So the term on the resolution that's been proposed is, I believe, November 1st. And that's just a suggested date from the council, as in that is the extent to which the council would support this type of concept. Ultimately, though, again, the executive branch just would decide that date. And
So we'd be giving the mayor all this authority. Nothing against the mayor.
The mayor, and nothing against the council, but the mayor already does have that authority, and the planning department has that authority. Just because something is a law doesn't mean it has to be strictly enforced all the time. That's why people speed and don't get tickets every day.
Right.
So this would be an example of treating zoning laws, which traditionally are more strictly enforced, to something more like a speeding ticket, which is, first 10 miles an hour you kind of get for free. So it's
I'm going to
one
quote
of
you
those
on
situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so we'd be expecting the mayor to be fair and even-handed with this. So it doesn't turn into, oh, you're the mayor's buddy, you get to sell your donuts outside, and you're not, and I'm just picking on Krispy Kreme, I guess, because it's not in my district. But if you're not the mayor's buddy, you know, then it gets enforced. I mean, are we concerned about the fairness issue here?
To the extent you're concerned about that, that already is the current existence in the world, is that we do rely upon the executive branch to apply the law as fairly as possible and not help buddies, but that is something that is entrusted to the executive branch and is ultimately that person's responsible to the voters for doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Questions from any members?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Go ahead.
I think it's a good idea for our restaurants and businesses that are struggling. However, I'm wondering if this would include vape shops, smoke shops, beer depots, that they could display the merchandise on the outside to sell it?
If allowed by their licensure, it would not restrict them. They would not be restricted by zoning codes, as long as the, again, executive branch decides to allow it in that situation. But there's also no reason that they couldn't say it's not going to apply to a tobacco or a vape shop either. They could simply do that. It's not a protected class or anything like that. They could distinguish between businesses.
Alderman Road?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, and this is for all businesses, and it's up to the mayor and the planning commission to decide this, correct? Is that my understanding?
Planning commission would be only involved if you're going to change the zoning law. This is just simply sort of taking almost a moratorium on enforcement of the law. And so it would be solely the executive branch's decision whether to take something to municipal court or issue an order to conform to the zoning code.
So a bar cannot allow drinking outside, correct?
Correct, but there are two reasons why not. One would be zoning, and the second would be because of licensure. This eliminates the zoning component, but they still would have to come to the council for licensure because the state can enforce that law as well as the city. Zoning codes are only enforced by the city, so it would be to the licensee's advantage to do it the proper way.
Okay, and one more thing, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
I believe there's an exotic pet store on Greenfield Avenue with snakes and things like that. Is that right, Alderman Weigel?
I think it went on a business.
Anybody?
I think you're correct on that, Dan.
Okay,
I think it's right off of Greenfield. I think it's on one of the side streets.
okay. Are they gonna be allowed to have their snakes and reptiles out on the sidewalk? Or is that up to the mayor?
Again, it would be something that the mayor would have to set, and the executive branch would have to set, because right now it would be against the zoning code, and they have to decide if they want to enforce the zoning code upon that type of business. This whole resolution is more of a sign of conceptual support from the council than it is anything else. And so whether it's passed or not passed, frankly, it won't change the authority that the executive branch has. It's just more of a chance to weigh in on the topic. So if those are the concerns, this is your chance to express those concerns.
Okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I have one more concern, and I am in no way trying to be funny on this. Adult entertainment, my district, and Alderman Lysick.
Again,
I see a lot of smirking, and that's why I asked it, and I'm being as serious as a heart attack here.
That's a good point, Dan. That's a very good point.
As a licensed activity, they would probably want to seek to expand their premises if they want to do that. They would probably violate several other ordinances by doing so that the executive branch likely would not waive. I can get into more detail on that if you'd like, but
And believe me, I was not trying to be funny. I was trying to be like, hey, what about this one? What about that one? So, okay, thank you.
I think there are a lot of other laws that would cover that one.
So at this time, do we need a consensus of, for the solution? And then, of course, it goes to the council for final votes. Again, which I understood that the executive branch has the authority move ahead either way. But this will be, I think, more of a good gesture. So, would be in support, I mean, not to look the other way, Again, there is some few issues, I heard some of the older persons raise about it, but the fact that is the season by us here is very short, it won't be a 12 months situation, maybe it will be just for the most, maybe 3 months, which the weather might be good, So at this point, we need a resolution for a consensus of approval by the License and Health Committee, right?
We need a motion.
Yes. So we move for voting. Is that correct, Kel?
You can do this by voice vote, just ask for the ayes and noes.
Yes. So all in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I've had my hand raised. May I speak, please?
Yes, go ahead, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Sure.
Before we take a consensus vote, I guess the concerns have been brought up as far as how loose. I'm looking out my window now. I understand what impeding a walkway is. However, my question is what would be the difference if we actually just do this case by case and ask those who are interested to actually give us the heads up, or ask how are we going to man this? How are we going to police this if indeed there are issues with sidewalks being blocked, or some of the kind of more outrageous things that were discussed as far as what's brought out to the streets and whatnot. I'm in full support of businesses having all the opportunity to operate, and it is a short window. However, I'm just wondering what would be the difference if we say, okay, we lift this zoning, but it still has to be based on approval, instead of it being a free-for-all, and then we're coming back and regretting that we made this decision and having to tell people that they can't do what their neighbor's doing because A, B, or C. I think it's opening a can of worms. I think it's going to be more of our department's time, and it's going to cost more money to do so. So I'm trying to look at the easiest resolve here is, okay, I'd support, and obviously the executive branch is going to make a decision either way, but I would really stress other options. What would it hurt for a business to call in and or apply, and there'd be no fee to it? At least give us the heads up, because you're going to have pedlets coming up, you're going to have racks of clothes on sidewalks. I guarantee you're going to see a lot. I mean, I had issues years back. I'm sitting in my salon right now. I couldn't put a park bench out. I was tagged on it. Get the park bench off. It's 2 inches over the sidewalk.
So again, this is exactly why the issue was brought before the council, is that all the persons can weigh in on the potential issues that might be faced. And so I think your suggestion is well taken, and it'll be something that I'm sure the planning department will consider when going through this analysis.
Okay. Thank you.
So the voting was to approve it. I believe that's correct. So Suzette, do you have any other questions?
No,
are you
I don't.
Are you in favor of move forward?
No, I wouldn't vote for it, but we can move forward, yes.
So we have 4 votes yes and 1 no's.
Correct.
No, I would vote no too.
You would no too? So 3-2 then.
I like,
So 2 no's and 3, I believe, yeah. Is that correct?
That is correct for me.
And just to be
Okay.
clear, Mr. Chair, and
Yes.
just to be clear, whether we vote yes or no anyways, the mayor can do what he wants, correct?
I believe that's what we heard tonight, and to me, I think by doing this, I think it gives the more flexibility. I think the development department and the mayor just as well, in his executive branch, I believe it shows that it's support from the council, and And again, those are details I believe it could be accommodated, you know? I mean, the issue about the sidewalk, I do believe that, you know, it could be maybe a percentage of small sidewalk would be narrow. But the fact it is that, in overall, the retailers or the business person, I'm sure is gonna be wise enough for him to leave some space for people to walk. And that's something could be applied to the resolution. I mean, I don't see any problem, really. You know,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
if I may interject here, I'm gonna show you my sidewalk here right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was in the business next door, I had to take my screen door off because guess what? If the wind caught it and a passerby was going by or a bicyclist, it could hit them. What I'm speaking of is not that somebody has common sense to walk around something. What if those racks are out there and the wind picks up and somebody is coming by? We're putting the liability back on those businesses, yet we're allowing that pretty much unless, and from what I heard, as long as it's on private property. So my concern would be anything on, even if it's 2 inches of the sidewalk, then becomes our issue. And it becomes our liability. Unless we're saying, okay, is there a waiver of sorts that if this happens and there is a risk of injury and or say a wreck goes in traffic, what's gonna happen? Is that, I mean, these are far reach scenarios. However, as I said, when I opened my business, I had to take a screen door off.
Mr. Chair.
And there was no option. It was, you have to remove it.
yes.
So again, this entire vote is very much a symbolic gesture, and I think the vote at committee and discussion tonight is a good example of how the planning department should do this very carefully and understand that there might be some negative repercussions. Because when you get a privilege in the street, as a private property owner, you do take on a liability for what you put in the street. The city wouldn't be liable for that, but it still doesn't change the fact that there might be an additional danger in certain circumstances. And regardless of the city's liability, we just don't want to put people in danger. So I think it was a good idea to bring this to council for this exact discussion. And given that the vote is over, we can move on to the next item, but obviously all the record that was built tonight will be analyzed closely, and they'll come up hopefully with a smart plan to move forward, no matter what happens.
Mr. Chair, one more question
Thank
for
you,
Gail.
Gil. Yeah, go ahead. Tracy.
They still have to follow the rules, if they're allowed to do this, about leaving the space for the right of way for pedestrians a certain distance, correct? I mean, they don't get to cut that off.
Yeah, so the right-of-way rules would still apply. This was literally talking about suggesting only zoning rules changing. So this actually did not comment at all on obstructing right-of-way or allowing someone to obstruct the right-of-way. It was only on suggesting that the zoning laws be loosened a little bit. And that's really the extent of what was suggested under this resolution.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? I believe the vote was 3-2, so we can, we got 2 noes and 3 yeah. So we can move on to the next item, which will be item 5. So, Rebecca, can you read that one?
Sure. Petition to exceed the alcohol license quota submitted by AHTRST Concessions LLC, Jacob L. A.I. Colodi, agent, doing business as Holiday Inn Express, West Allis, for a 2020-21 combination Class B alcohol license for the premises located at 102 or 1 West Lincoln Avenue.
Is any questions from any committee members in regard this resolution?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Alderman Stefanski.
This is to exceed our quota that we currently have in the city?
Correct.
I believe,
Yes.
yes, I believe it is.
Thank you.
So-
Mr. Chair, Rowe,
Yes, Alderman Road.
is the owner here tonight or the agent?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I believe this is,
Rosalie, go ahead.
That was Rebecca, I believe.
Rebecca.
sure.
Rebecca, go ahead, Rebecca.
I believe this is to see if you would like to have a hearing on the petition to exceed the quota. Is that correct, Mr. Serwin? It's not,
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
This goes along with number 24, so there's the petition to exceed and the Class B alcohol license for the exact same establishment. Effectively, if we haven't had that hearing yet, they would go together, and my advice to the committee would be to take action on these once that hearing, or if you allow that hearing, or want to have that hearing. And I would just remind the committee on item number 4, then if you do grant a license, you can add conditions to the license pursuant to our code, but you have to do that at the time of granting the license.
Nick, I would like to ask you,
I think I'm using the wrong agenda.
the fact of the hearings, but based on the informations, I mean, if the applicant has a clean records, I mean, he doesn't have no previous records of anything, or?
For the agent, I'm not aware of anything. When we have these Class B applications, the record, while it could be important, is less important because Class B or Class A are may issue licenses. So the committee could, through their own discretion or its own discretion, decide whether or not it is appropriate to have or to grant a license to the Holiday Inn Express West Allis in this instance. But ultimately what the committee has to decide is if you want this to have, or you wanted to go to a public hearing for the petition to exceed the quota.
I believe, you know, I don't know, I mean, I leave it up just as well for the members, you know, I want to get some feedback from them. But again, if there is no need at this time really to go through the process of having a hearing, maybe we could just, I want to hear some of the members, what their thought is, you know.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, it does have to go to a hearing so basically the two options, yeah, if it's going to be over quota, our ordinance requires there to be a public hearing for that.
Yeah, I
and so really
understand.
the only two options that it would be tonight is you could deny the Class B license because you're going to say some rational basis, or you would say, yes, let's put it forward to a public hearing to see if we want to go over quota, in which case you could still deny if you want to at that future date after the hearing.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, Mosley,
yes.
I suggest we go to a public hearing.
Second.
All in favors to go to a public hearing?
Aye.
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 Yeah, I have it.
Can I make one statement real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Rebecca, is there any way for you to move your microphone closer? Because with you wearing that mask, it's hard to understand you.
Since nobody's close to me, I think I can take it off right now.
Okay, cool. Now that's better. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I believe then you would hold item number 24
Yes.
and, okay.
So now we can move forward with item 3.
Police Department report regarding no tavern violations calls for service for the month of April.
Yes.
Move to place on file, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Yeah, I have it. The noes, no noes. So then we can go to item, I believe, 3 for the combination Class B, Rebecca.
The
Sure.
next one's 31, I believe.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is a combination Class A liquor license application of Red Diamond Incorporated. Shoshan K. Baljit, agent for DBA's Super Bottle Depot for the premises at 1357 South 76th Street, a new existing location.
Is any, Nick, there is any reports about this? Did you
Nothing.
Balit?
Not that I'm aware of, no, and not at this point. I believe this is just a transfer, well, I don't want to minimize it, but it's an existing location. They would be taking over that existing location's liquor license. So this would not be one that have to go over quota. or have that type of vote. It is a Class A as well, so that wouldn't really even apply. I'm looking over the license information right now to see if there's anything additional that was sent out in these items.
So any question from the members of the License and Health?
Move
Mr.
to
Chair,
approve, Frankie.
I had a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Alderman Road.
Nick, did you say Class A as well, or did that slip out?
I believe this is a Class A, and so what I was talking about was the potential for going over quota, but then I realized it's a Class A.
Oh, you're still on the Red Diamond one then, correct?
That's what I believe we are on, unless I'm
Yes,
starting on the wrong thing.
yes.
Number 31.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
Is there a second?
I believe there's a
Second.
motion to approve.
Second.
all in favors?
Aye.
Yeah, I have. No no's. So then we move forward with, I'm reading now the item 3, which is the combination Class B alcohol on 6922 West Orchard. Rebecca?
Sure, it's a Class B alcohol license application of the Clubhouse Pub and Grill. Dennis W. Snyder, agent for the Clubhouse Pub and Grill at 6922 West Orchard, new existing location.
Okay, Nick, I have some concern with the new applicant. I believe it, Mr. Dennis Snyder is there, right?
I am.
Yes. So my questions that I have for you, I receive various calls from Landmark Apartments, by you for last, I believe, Friday night until about 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning. Here, some motorcycle group of people had been loud and, and making a lot of chaos, for the neighbors, So the question is, so how are we going to try to solve this? Before we move forward to approve your license, we want to make sure that this problem, because now summer is coming, we don't want any problems with you, that we continuously I'm going to get phone call from people in that residence, because of the problem that it's causing by those patrons going outside and being loud, because probably they had a few drinks, and raving their motorcycles, that's something I hope, for your own sake, this is gonna be, if people come to your establishment to enjoy the evening, that's great. But I don't think they should disturbing people outside, people in that residence, in that vicinity. To me, it's not very appropriate, somebody called me at 7 o'clock in the morning, the other person called me at 6 o'clock in the morning. And no, I never get a phone call. I've been an alderman for over 32 years. And nobody ever called me at 6 o'clock in the morning. This is first time. So now for yourself, I try to give you I call advice because, I don't want any problems that I'm going to get called and some of your patrons are disturbing the peace of the neighbors, So that's why I'm kind of giving you a heads up on this problems, I know you're a new applicant, and I wish you the best, I'm not trying to, but the question is gonna be something is gonna be done, I hope you can give us tonight some assurance,
Sure.
I did report it to the chief, I sent him an email about what happened, so I don't know if you heard anything or you're not aware of that, I just want to follow up with you at this time if you have any questions, before we move forward,
Sure. I haven't taken possession of the building yet, so I have no clue what happened over there on Friday because we don't actually take ownership of the building until, or excuse me, our lease doesn't go in until July 1st. So I'm not sure what took place on Friday over there because it's not not our business yet.
So you were not there then, right?
Correct.
So who operates the establishment without having the license yet?
Tom's Foolery is still licensed to be in there until the end of the month.
He was responsible. I mean, he's an agent for that location. I mean,
Yeah,
no-
Tom's Foolery is an active business still in there.
Okay.
He's retiring. He's retiring. I'm a Legion member. I'm a member of Post 120, Tanner Paul.
Okay.
Which
Well, I
is,
appreciate that. I think that's great, you know. But just again, and now you're new. I mean, you'll be running the operation, so that's why I give you a heads up about.
Sure.
Summer is coming, you know, license holders, you know. I mean, we don't want any problem that they're going to come in front of us in the next couple of months, you know.
Sure.
So that's one concern that I have. You know, like I say, I'm not trying to. I mean, I do welcome you. You know, you new licensee, agent for the locations. You know, so I have no problem with
Mr.
that.
Chair,
Yeah.
Alderwoman Grisham, I do have a question. Is there going to be live music permitted?
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It's a banquet hall, so there'll be weddings that bring in their bands and stuff like that, or a DJ or whatnot.
Did you apply for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions from our members?
I have another question with that.
Yes,
I know it's a banquet hall. Will there be any events or anything held outside?
No, just because there's not enough room.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
And Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yeah.
briefly.
Yes, Nick.
I just want to remind the committee that these licenses are discretionary, and then that there are the options if the committee is concerned at all about adding potential conditions to the license. And so I know we talked about music or loud activities outside or something along those lines. The committee has the ability to work out that premises with the applicant, as well as potentially add conditions if there's a condition you want to add. Just pointing that out, not recommending anything specifically.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So,
Nick. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Alderwoman Grisham here. In light of that, although we have a noise ordinance that goes till 10 o'clock, being a good neighbor and having a senior home next door, and would there be a partnership agreement or maybe some restrictions put on how loud the music can be or how late that can go?
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes.
There's going to be the noise ordinance the police would enforce. The provisions that the licensing committee can add on are going to be under 902.12M sub B through F or A through F. But there are specific things that we could add. For example, it might be keeping up with the landscape and architectural screening, video monitoring going on there, security measures, maintaining layouts of the premises. And so if you're concerned about it going outside or something along those lines, making sure that that's in place. The noise issue is going to be something for the police to enforce across the board. And so it can't be too loud at any point because it could be disorderly conduct at that point. If it gets too late at night, they're going to go in there and they do a pretty good job of quieting places down. Or at least try to when they get complaints.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Chair, if I could add something?
Yes.
I think in the past when there were problems there is because they were allowing patrons to go out the door on the east side of the building directly into the alley. And with the brick wall and the acoustics there, I think that's where the problem was. Maybe if you restrict patrons smoking to go out to the front door, I'll call it, that's on Orchard on the south side of the building, because I believe that's a double door there.
Correct.
So that if you designate the sidewalk as the smoking area for patrons and not allow patrons to go out on the east door into the alley, that might solve that problem.
Absolutely.
Alderman Weigel. Yeah, go ahead. Anybody else?
Are there cameras currently in the establishment?
Right now, there is, I can't think of the name of it, but it's a very simple system. I work for a security company, so I will be putting multiple cameras in.
Okay.
So Marty, I did appreciate what you addressed, which it makes really sense, because in the past, I mean, I always got a phone call, not just from the landmark, but the apartment right next door, what was kind of annoying situation, I mean, that was going on and on, so you brought up a good point, Marty. So I think it's a good idea if the new agent will kind of refrain or not have anybody maybe utilize the door just for recreation, by be outside and do their things. And so to me, I mean, that's a valid questions, so I appreciate that. So,
Mr. Schneider?
yes,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chair?
Go ahead, Rosalie.
Mr. Schneider, have you ever run a bar or had a restaurant experience?
I have not. I've bartended many years when I was in the service, and when I got out of the service, I bartended in West Allis here at Busby's that used to be on 84th and Greenfield years and years ago, but I've never owned a bar or a restaurant.
Were you employed at Busby's when they had that gunshot in the alley?
No, I don't remember that.
Anybody else has any questions from the committee? So again, I know on your license, I believe there's going to be some details about, if anything comes up, any violations in the future, and I hope not, I hope I don't see you around, we won't see you around, But if it comes up, there's always an opportunity if the license could be revoked if it's a major issue come in front of us.
Sure.
So questions it is, the members, let's move on. Let's vote on it.
Is there, Mr. Chair, is there a motion?
Yeah, and that's what I'm asking for, an motion now.
I make a motion for approval.
Second.
I would, if I may,
Yes.
can we add that provision to the licensure that door is not utilized for patrons to exit, and that any smoking would or exit would go toward the front of the property? Did we put that as a stipulation to the license?
I believe we could do that.
That's what I would suggest.
I was going to say the applicant would have to kind of agree to that one. It's not one of our ordinances, and so it's kind of an agreed upon operating or a way of operation plan.
That is already our operation plan anyway, so that works for me.
Okay.
So the only time that door could be used in case of emergency.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's fine.
And handicap access. That's
Handicap, of
yep,
course.
that is the handicap access.
Totally.
But we would like that to be stipulated.
I believe it's on the record, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the motion, we have an motion and a second. All in favor?
You're gonna need to get an occupancy permit from our building
Opposed?
inspection department
None, so-
before it can be issued, just so you know.
So let's
okay?
move on. Yeah, have it.
You're all good.
So we have item,
Thank you.
item 4 here, but anyway, that's operator license, bartender sales clerk application for Jessica Ann St. Louis.
I believe there was a 32A added for the combination Class B alcohol license application of A and C Entertainment LLC, Scott A. Cron, agent doing business as One More at 7534 West Beloit Road. It currently says new existing location. That would actually be a new application, and I can go into the details of that if anybody would need that.
Go ahead. I think we'd like to hear that, Nick.
The location at 7534 West Beloit was previously licensed. Last year, it came to I believe it was Department of Revenue's understanding that the entity that had the license did not have the necessary qualifications to be licensed. They never got their seller's permit, which is a requirement under 12504. There's case law and statutes on point, but when a license is issued in violation of or against 125 and they don't have the necessary qualifications, that license is void. And so that license was never actually an appropriate or proper license, and there was no license there. So this would actually be a new license, and the issue that would go along with this then, much like the previous above quota issue, is that there would have to be a public hearing. The applicant would have to apply for a public hearing if they want to go above quota. And so much like one of the previous agenda items, the only options that the committee would have tonight are going to be either holding this application and the applicant applying to go above quota, or denying the application at this point and not having any hearing. There isn't a hearing scheduled yet. There's not a application even in yet. So like the last one, we were saying we should go to public hearing. This one would be held so that the owner or agent could go through that process.
Thank you, Nick. Any questions from the committee members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman Road?
is the applicant there?
Yes.
Okay. I see on question 9, it says you have other alcohol beverage licenses in the state of Wisconsin. I'm not familiar with Camelot Banquet Room or Downtown Milwaukee Eatery or Downtown Juneau Investments. Could you share with me what those are?
I'm the agent on licenses for their Silk Gentlemen's Club and Rock Country Music Venue. I also have one out in Okauchee Lake where I'm the agent and a license for a bar called the Hideaway.
Okay. That would be adult entertainment, correct?
The ones in Milwaukee would be, yes.
Okay, then I noticed you want to do 6 amusement machines inside the premises. Would those be video poker and things of that nature?
Some of them would. I have a pool table and a dartboard. I own a company that does that as well.
Okay, and I did read your report, your works report, and that seems to be your Achilles heel is the gambling machines. Would I be correct in that?
Well, we have a company that supplies them to bars, yes.
Right, Mr. Chair and Alderman Rowe.
Yeah.
The works, I'm not sure if most people know what a works report is. The works report is something that's generated by the police department and updates the committee on potential law violations that might impact licensure. I'd also note that CCAP has tickets that are listed as well. So I'm not sure I think the question was asking Mr. Cron to comment on basically interactions he's had based with law enforcement based on those gambling machines.
Actually, the one ticket was for out at the Hideaway, and it was a charity raffle that we were doing called Joker's Wild that would support the fireworks out on Okauchee Lake. And they deemed that it had been going on. We just hosted it for the person that had the 501c Corp, and they just wrote us tickets and didn't want us to do the charity raffle anymore. There was, years ago, we had some machines where some of the bars were using them for gambling purposes, and they wrote a ticket for that.
Okay. That's
Mr. Cron, go ahead, are you done? Alderman Road, are you done?
I guess I am.
Oh, you are, all right. So Mr. Cron, I want to ask you, are you ever been charged for any criminals manufacturing parts for gambling?
No.
You never did, eh?
No.
Nick, would you like to check on that? I mean,
I believe the works report, I'm trying to pull it up right now. I think that was sent out earlier today. There was something in like the 90s, I want to say off the top of my head, but it was.
yeah, back in 1999. Yeah.
That was probably the one where we had a machine in there and the bar was using it for gambling. We didn't manufacture it. We just supplied them like a poker, a video game, a pool table.
So in other words, you had, I mean, do we have this type of gambling machine in the other establishment that you were running at this time, right?
We've had them in other establishments, yes.
I believe CCAP, I'm not going to be able to get the works report, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, but if we're on the subject, I believe there's a CCAP entry with it's a dated criminal conviction from 1999 or something along those lines in Milwaukee County.
Yes. Yeah, then there is another one, premise to be used for commercial. I mean, there was another one. Is another charge that was convicted in 4/15/1999. Disposition convicted.
Per CCAP, which is public records, there are two items. Permit gambling machine on premises, party to a crime, manufacturer, lottery, or betting device, party to a crime. There is no disposition on the second one, only the misdemeanor, only the permit gambling machine on premises, again, in 1999.
Yes. Yeah, April 15, 1999. I know it's been quite a while already, so, but the fact is that, he's putting a gambling machine here in West Allis, so I mean, I want to caution him that West Allis Police Department keep an eye on it, I mean, if there's anything wrongdoing, within our city here, I mean, it's not, because when I see somebody's been, I'm fine, it's been a long time that he was convicted, in regard of this machine gambling, so I mean, I have a little concern, but after all this time, I like to give the man a chance, but again, I want to hear from the members again if we should move forward.
Mr. Chair.
License, go ahead.
Roach here. Just a little history on this bar, and I am one of the aldermen in that district, and for the last 6 months, my phone's been very quiet, but prior to that, it was like I was on everybody's speed dial in that neighborhood there. It was the racing up and down the alleys, the noise, the fight to where that kid was beat to within a half inch of his life. There just was a lot going on there. They really enjoyed it when it was Sir Greg's, when everybody was gone by 6 o'clock at night. It was a true neighborhood bar. And right now, I've heard the neighbors aren't ready for a bar to go back in there. So I, for one, would not be supporting this. I don't know what my co-alderman feels on this. And right now, we don't even have a license to issue this person. We'd have to have a vote to go over quota. So right now, I'm not in favor of issuing a license, but we don't even have one to issue.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This is Lysa.
Yes.
I concur with Alderman Roth. The location has been a problem in the past. He is absolutely correct when it was Sir Gregory's. For a good number of years, there was no problems at that establishment. In the last few years, there have been multiple problems, fights. Police were there a number of times. And since this is a license that would have to be granted going over quota, our reason for keeping or reducing the quota in West Allis was to get rid of problem neighborhood bars, which this has turned out to be. And so I would be supportive of Alderman Roth's position as the other alderman in the district of not having a hearing and not issuing any license for this premise in the future. It's to me, the past operators have not been operating consistent with the wishes of the neighborhood. It's in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and it's just not, in my opinion, a place that I'd like to see operating as a tavern again with those types of problems. So I would concur with Alderman Roth. If I'm going to vote for something that is over quota, it's going to be for something that is like the Holiday Inn Express, a restaurant that's coming to town, something that has a much better business plan than just a neighborhood tavern. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Lysak. I do agree with you. So I'd like to hear from the other members of the community, any concern that you're having at this time. Otherwise, myself, I like to move for denial.
Would I be able to?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Alderwoman Grisham, I am in agreement with you on that, and I would make a motion to deny.
Second. Alderman Smith.
All in favor of denial of the applicant license?
Chairman, if I could real quick.
Yes.
City Attorney or Assistant City Attorney Nick Serwin. I think the record is pretty clear at this point, and there's been a record made by several parties. On the motion, I would like there to be a rational basis stated if possible. Again, it's not necessary. There's case law to support that it's not necessary, especially when there's a record such as this. But if we could adopt that record in our motion, I would appreciate that.
Would I be able to, could I explain a little regarding the history? When it was Sir Gregory's, I had my video games in with Greg for many years. He was trying to sell the place. He couldn't sell it, so we took it off his hands. He recommended that the girl that was a bartender for him who knew the neighbors and she would be a good tenant. I didn't know her at the time. That's who we leased it to because he recommended her. That's the Christina Lopez. So we rented it to her, and that's where the problem started with her. We have gotten her out now. I'm actually a former police officer in Milwaukee and a former firefighter as well. So the reason why I'm applying is because when we first took it over, she had the license. We really couldn't do much because she was the license holder. So what I wanted to do now was put myself as the agent and make sure it's run correctly. So I didn't have much control when she was in there, and then I found out, when the license got voided, we've had it vacant since then. And doing some remodeling and cleaning it up, but it would definitely go back to an older crowd and type of bar that was when it was Sir Greg's. Because I knew some of those people, but that Christina was one that Greg said to put in there because she used to work for him, and he recommended that she would do well in there.
But the fact is that the issue was lingering, not just for a short time. And I understand, what you say, But the fact is that he didn't try to refrain or stop the consequences that were occurring in that establishment. So it seemed like I kind of weighed the fact of not really do anything to eliminate all that problem, and that's where the issue is. Besides, she's gone now. The other applicant is gone, so this will be a new license. So the fact is that it's up to the council, up to the committee to, they want to pursue it. But I understand there's an emotion for denial. There's a second for denial. So I believe, and some provisions, Nick, that you addressed. So what, I understood what you said, Nick. Can you probably enlighten us more briefly again,
Sure. The record that was made thus far was that the community did not feel it was appropriate to have a bar in the location, especially as it was run at that time, and that because we were at quota, the committee would like to see something that is more substantial or different than a neighborhood bar go into such an area. And so I believe that was the record that was made. I don't want to speak for a committee member on their motion. If that's the record that you want to proceed under, great. If there's something additional, obviously make a record of it. I'm just asking there to be a record.
Okay, great. I think we'll put it on record. So on the motion, with second for denial, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Noes? The aye have it. Thank you.
And so to be clear, that was a vote in an affirmative to deny the license, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Thank you, Nick. So then,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
It is a couple minutes after 7, and I think we need to adjourn this and get into our common council meeting and then take this up at the recess meeting.
Yeah, if you want, we can pick, but then to be a lot of it, still gotta, because we got some operator license, we got some, combination Class B license. So I believe maybe we should kind of go through those, then we're gonna take them during recess. So, I know it's 7 o'clock already. That's up to you guys, We
Mr.
can do it
Chair.
in recess.
Rebecca.
I think we should do it at recess.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Mr.
Let's
Chair.
do it recess. A motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, yes.
Move to adjourn.
yes, the applicants are here, and
Maybe we should go. The applicants are in room 128 right now.
Yeah, right now?
yes, we have some, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we have some applicants here. There's 4 applicants that are not here. So would be possible,
Yeah, let's take care of them then.
be possible to take 37, 38, and 39?
Sure, that'll be fine.
The first one is an operator's license for Nicole Rivera. But I believe there's a motion to adjourn, so I don't know if that has to be.
I can withdraw it.
Thank you.
You withdrew the motion, right? Yes, okay. So now we are in the operator license, item 27. Is that correct, Rebecca?
36, Nicole Rivera?
36, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Nicole Rivera.
Yeah, Nicole, I have a question for you. What are you gonna be working?
Actually, he was just in here to get his license, but right now I work at Tom Fullery's. I've known Tom for a really long time. I was the bar manager in Menominee Falls at the Schwabenow for almost 8 years.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Alderman Road.
It's Ms. Rivera.
Yes.
I'm looking at a suspended driver's license. How did you get here tonight?
I came with my friend, but I also took care of it. I didn't realize that my insurance was not reporting to the DNB. And I do have the receipts for those.
You have what?
I do have the receipts for those as well.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes.
Just, these are ones that have been denied or soft denied previously, and so applicants are here, if they've showed up, to show the committee competent evidence of rehabilitation. That might look like a whole number of things, but in this case, I believe Ms. Rivera was denied based on some dated OWIs. There's, I believe, 3 OWIs, 2 in 2010 and 1 in 2013, and then an OAR in 2017. And she did report to the committee just now that she did fix the licensure issue. I don't have any information on that. And so the committee's role right now would be to ask or to talk to Ms. Rivera about those convictions, whether they substantially relate and whether she can show competent evidence of rehabilitation.
Mr. Rivera, do you have already some of the rehabilitation updates they can relate to us?
Yes. I have not had a drink in over 3 years. I actually am going through some medical issues, and I'm a single mom, so I work a full-time day job, and bartending right now is kind of money that I've been putting aside for my kids because I almost died like twice in the last 45 days of a blood clot in my pelvis and a brain bleed, and I'm still working with Freighter to find out why I'm having these issues, but I don't drink, I don't do any drugs, I'm diabetic, and I'm on medication that if I would drink would severely hurt my body. I wasn't aware that I had the suspended license because of the insurance. I had moved out of the house that I was in, and I did have my mail forwarded, but my ex kept some of it too, and I just was not aware of it, or I would have taken care of it right away.
I do appreciate your statements. I believe it's been almost 4 years. I believe you're clear, you know. So myself, really, I like to give it the, you know, the opportunity. You know, I know you have a full-time job. Besides, you know, to me, it's a gratified for my estimation. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Alderman Rowe.
May I just remind the committee, or just remind myself, that we, as a committee, and I know these are all new members except for me, we have only approved in 12 years 2 applicants with 3 OWIs. Not 2 OWIs, not 1, but 3. That's a lot of OWIs. And the 2 circumstances were, 1, the fella didn't have a car and he lived above the bar where he was going to be bartending. And the other fella just so happened to not have a car as well, and he lived across the street from the bar, which those were very unique situations, and those were the only 2 in 12 years that I can remember that we okayed with 3 OWIs. Again, not 2, not 1, 3.
Is it okay?
On my road, you know, we're talking about if. I mean, myself, I mean, I wasn't licensed in health committee a long time ago, you know. To me, I always felt if a person doesn't have, say 4 or 5 years ago, they lost their driver's license for any reasons, and I don't want to know the reasons. I mean, and they get to, say, like tonight, Ms. Rivera, she came here right at City Hall. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't care how she gets there. You know, as long as, I mean, if she gets a ride, if she takes a bus, it's not the license and health committee members to know how the person really got there. You know, to me, I mean, I heard that many years ago, the same thing. You know, and I'm telling you, I don't think we should hold on anyone that because they don't drive for many reasons. You know, again, I don't want to know the reasons that we should deny that. If somebody had a WI just a month ago, or 2 of them within 3 months or 4 months, well, then I think we should kind of look at it different. But when we have somebody, they did it three years ago, or 5 years ago, or prior to that, you know, that's something we have to come, you know, when somebody comes in front of us and they have a full-time job, the way sound, she's clean now, you know, she wants, you know, support her families. That's one thing that I don't like to hold it or say how people get to us from, you know, if they get called in or to apply for any reasons for a bartender license or any other concern, you know. I just, to me, it's not our business really to ask people how they get at City Hall. You know,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Alderwoman Grisham here. Respectfully, it is our job to ask how they got there. When we're looking at a substantial record and rehabilitation has to be determined, it is our job. And respectfully, as a new member to this, I need some clarification how we look to move forward in instances like this. I mean, it is a very severe violation to have 1 OWI. Needless to say, 3. Yes, rehabilitation looks like it was on the table. However, there's other viable charges operating after revocation, for example. We're issuing licenses that these individuals have to be responsible for other people who are drinking to make sure that they are safe when they're leaving these establishments and making good choices. If these operators indeed are not making good choices themselves, I beg to differ with you. It is our job to ask, and it's not just
I understand that's our job, but what I'm saying, if somebody had a WI 10 years ago or 6 years ago, I'm not going to hold a person hostage. You know, people go in prison for other concerns, you know, more critical.
Right,
so
but there's 3 WI.
Is it?
3, but they look at dates. But that's what didn't happen 3 years ago. That happens before that.
Could I say something? I totally understand why you guys would question it. I was not clearly thinking. I was going through things that were clouding my judgment, and the reason why I'm asking you to approve my license is because this income that I have right now with the bar and bartending is something that's helping me with medical bills and my kids, and I am a person that has made mistakes, but I've also learned from them. And I did not know that my license was revocated, and I took care of it right away, and I have the receipts for them. It should be updated on the system. I can't change what happened when I was younger, but that was like over 6 years ago, and I'm 39 now, and I'm just trying to make sure that if something does happen to me, that my kids will not be without.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Alderman.
I do agree with Alderman Road and Alderwoman Grisham, but also want to make a statement. You had said it's only been 6 years ago and you're 39 now. So that was when you were 33. You're an illegal adult at 18 years old to make choices of your own.
Right.
And even when if you pass the age of drinking at 21, that's a responsibility. And you violated that responsibility, so I can see everybody's point on this. So that's why I want to share.
I absolutely agree with you, but I also didn't have a chance to grow up. I had started college at 16, and my son was my first priority. So when I got older and I was actually able to go out, I made bad choices because that was my maybe what would have been my 21 or my 22, which is not an excuse by any means, but I just want you to understand where I was at that point in my life.
Mr. Chair, if I could?
Yes, Nick, go
So
ahead.
I think what the committee has to do at this point would be, you've heard from the applicant, you're aware of the record, so the committee has to decide or make a motion to approve or deny whether or not she has shown competent evidence of rehabilitation. And so with the information provided at this point, you either can determine that she has based on everything she said, or she has not based on the convictions, and we can proceed in that capacity.
So any more questions from any committee members? Any more questions?
Mr. Chair, this is Alderwoman Keene.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a quick question. Nicole, you had said that you are no longer drinking?
Yeah, I'm not at all. I haven't had anything. I mean, right now, like, my health is important. My kid's father is not around, so all my kids have. I don't get any help from my parents or anybody else, and right now my goal is just to try and get better and put money aside for them, because I don't know what's gonna happen.
And was the stopping drinking due to solely health issues, or?
No, I decided to stop drinking because I saw I wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't in a good place, and I'm in a better place, and I see how people can make a bad judgment call when you're drinking, and I chose to do that before I got really sick.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any member of the License and Health? Any more? So on your motion, to approve it or denial?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I do think that Nicole has reached a level of competence of rehabilitation. And so I think we should give her a chance. So I would vote to approve.
Any seconds?
Alderman,
Yes, go ahead, Suzette.
I would like to say to Nicole, I do and offering some insight. It is not easy to come before committees you have, and I do appreciate that. I would tend to, Alderwoman Ranke does have a valid point. It is a look of, it seems you have put effort to rehabilitation. So with that being said, I thank you for appearing. And I do second Alderwoman Ranke's motion to approve.
So second from Alderperson Suzette. So any other questions from any committee members? I'd like to clarify the way we make sure we all covered. So there is a motion to approve, second to approve. All in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So everybody vote aye? Noes? So one nose?
No.
Two noes, right?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Okay, Rebecca, I'm sure that's on records now, so 3 approve and 2 noes. All right, let's move on with item 37, Rebecca.
Is that a yes?
Yeah, the council still has to vote on it, so you can call tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Do you need this?
If that's your stuff, I'll give it to him. Okay.
Thank you.
Number 37 is a operator's license application for Teresa M. Gonzalez. Can you have a seat?
Hi, Teresa, how are you?
Hello. Hi.
And I just remind, Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes.
I would just remind the committee that the rule of this is that she has been soft denied based on a finding by the committee at some point that she has a conviction record that substantially relates to the license activity. So at this point, the committee's role is to determine whether or not she can show us competent or show you competent evidence of rehabilitation.
So when this activity did occur, Nick?
The potential conviction that we're discussing is a 2018 misdemeanor for endangering safety by use of a dangerous weapon out of Waukesha, I believe.
Okay. Any questions from the committee members?
Yes, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman Rowe.
I would just like her to tell us a little bit about what happened on March 2nd of 2018.
It was June 1st of 2017, actually. The case was just finalized on March 2nd. I was involved in a domestic violent relationship that became really brutal, for lack of better words. Since then, I have not had any contact with the gentleman I was in a relationship, and I've completed the probation that was given to me. I've also been bartending in the Milwaukee area for the last 3 years.
What was the weapon?
It was a screwdriver that was on the nightstand next to my bed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from any committee members? If there's no other questions, I would like to have an motion of approval or denial.
Make a motion for approval.
Second, Grisham.
Yes, go ahead.
No, she was doing the second.
Oh, the second, okay. So all in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
And that was for an approval?
For approval, yes.
Okay. And can you do a no's as well? I couldn't tell if there was any no.
There was no no.
No, it's all 5 in favor, Nick.
All right, thank you.
Oh, sure. Then we move on, Rebecca, item 38.
Let me give it to you.
Dean Dombrowski.
No, you can leave it, thanks. We just have item 39. The person for 38 is not here, so Samantha Halstead is the last applicant.
So 38 and 39, they're not here, right?
No, 39 is here, 38 is not here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It looks to me like item 39, Ms. Halstead, I believe we called her in just because of the one OWI. Is there anything you want to share about that with us, Ms. Halstead?
I got my DUI almost 3 years ago, and I don't drink and drive anymore. I'm not allowed to drink at work. And
Well, where do you work?
I work at Just Jay's on 91st and National.
Oh, okay.
So any questions from the committee members?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Second, Ranky.
All in favors?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe at this time I'd like to vote to adjourn.
So move for adjournment.
Is that all the applicants, Rebecca?
Yes,
At this time, yes.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, then we can go on after the, during recess, we can take care of the other items, you know. I think it'd be okay then?